Another deadly night on Israel's northern border. A 20-year-old Israeli soldier was killed after Hezbollah mortar fire struck southern Lebanon, the sixth casualty since the fragile ceasefire was imposed. The Israeli military identified the slain soldier as Sergeant Negev Dagan. The IDF in a statement said, and I quote, "Staff Sergeant Negev Dagan, a soldier in the 12th Battalion, Golani Brigade, fell in battle in southern Lebanon, aged 20 when he fell." Dagan is the sixth IDF soldier to be killed in southern Lebanon since the start of a ceasefire, and the 19th since hostilities escalated amid the Iran war. Heavy fighting continues despite a U.S.-brokered ceasefire amid the Iran war. Israeli drones struck 3 vehicles on the main highway south of Beirut on Wednesday, killing 8 people, including a woman and her 2 children.
Fighting between the militant group and the Israeli army has persisted almost daily, even after a U.S.-brokered truce that took effect in mid-April. According to Lebanese Health Ministry, at least 380 people have been killed and more than 1,100 wounded since the fragile ceasefire was put in place.
The Israel-Hezbollah front is once again on the brink of explosion as diplomats race through high-stakes talks in Washington. Drones, airstrikes, and missiles are already speaking louder than words on the battlefield. Hezbollah claimed it targeted Israeli soldiers in northern Israel with a drone strike on May 14th. In a statement, the Lebanon-based armed group said it had, quote, targeted a gathering of Israeli enemy army soldiers at the Rosh Hanikra site. The Israeli military said several Israeli civilians were injured and evacuated to receive medical treatment after an explosive drone launched by Hezbollah fell within Israeli territory near the Israel-Lebanon border. The Jerusalem Post reported that 2 civilians were seriously injured and another was lightly wounded after an explosive-laden drone struck Rosh Hanikra. The drone reportedly hit a parking lot in the area, causing a massive explosion. The wounded were evacuated to Galilee Medical Center in Nakura for treatment. According to the Jerusalem Post, the IDF said the drone attack constituted a blatant violation of the ceasefire understandings between Israel and the Iran-backed group. The incident came shortly after the IDF announced it had begun striking Hezbollah infrastructure sites in several areas of southern Lebanon. The Israeli military also issued urgent evacuation warnings to residents of several Lebanese towns, including Labaya, Sahar, Tafata, Kafr Malik, Yahmor in the Beqaa region, Ain Tin, Human al-Fuka, and Mazrat is-Sinai. Lebanon's state-run national news agency reported Israeli airstrikes in the south and east, including in areas not covered by the evacuation warnings, a day after the Lebanese Health Ministry said intense raids killed 22 people, including 8 children. Meanwhile, political maneuvering has also intensified amid non-stop and near-daily exchanges of fire between the Israeli military and Hezbollah fighters. Representatives from Lebanon and Israel are holding fresh 2-day talks in Washington to discuss ways to de-escalate the situation. This marks the 3rd round of talks in a month between the 2 countries, which do not have diplomatic relations. The last meeting between the delegations took place on April 23rd at the White House, where U.S. President Donald Trump announced a 3-week extension of the truce in the Israel-Hezbollah war and voiced optimism about a groundbreaking agreement between the 2 countries. At the time, Trump made the bold prediction that during the 3-week extension, he would welcome Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Lebanese President Joseph Aoun to Washington for a historic first summit between the nations. The summit never took place, with Aoun stating that a security agreement and an end to Israeli attacks were necessary before such a landmark meeting could happen. This comes as Israel has vowed to continue pursuing attacks against Hezbollah, the Shia armed group and political movement backed by Iran. Tehran has demanded a lasting ceasefire in Lebanon before any agreement to end the wider regional war can be reached. The United States believes that comprehensive peace is contingent on the full restoration of Lebanese state authority and the complete disarmament of Hezbollah, according to a State Department statement. These talks aim to break decisively from the failed approach of the past 2 decades,
which allowed terrorist groups to entrench and enrich themselves, undermine the authority of the Lebanese state, and endanger Israel's northern border. Hezbollah entered the renewed Middle East conflict on March 2nd with rocket fire targeting Israel in retaliation for the killing of Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, in joint U.S.-Israeli strikes days earlier, on February 28th. Israeli attacks since March 2nd have killed more than 2,800 people in Lebanon, including at least 200 children, according to Lebanese authorities. The Israeli military has heavily bombarded Hezbollah strongholds in southern Lebanon and the Beirut southern suburbs, while also invading border regions that Israel had previously occupied for nearly 2 decades before withdrawing in 2000. Lebanon has repeatedly called on Israel to withdraw its troops from the south and insists on extending state sovereignty across all Lebanese territory as part of its commitment last year to disarm Hezbollah.
Our peacekeepers from the UN Interim Force in Lebanon say they are increasingly concerned about the activities of Hezbollah members and Israeli soldiers near UN positions, including the increased use of drones, which has resulted in explosions in and around their bases, and that puts peacekeepers at risk. On Monday, 3 presumed Hezbollah drones detonated in an area where Israel Defense Forces soldiers could have been present, within meters of UNIFIL's Nakura headquarters. Another drone detonated in the same area on Tuesday. A few minutes later, a presumed Hezbollah drone detonated inside UNIFIL's Nakura headquarters. No one was injured, but some buildings were damaged. UNIFIL continues to remind all actors to avoid operating in proximity of United Nations positions and personnel, and further urges all actors to avoid any actions that could put peacekeepers in danger. UNIFIL protested IDF presence, activities, and movement of personnel and vehicles near the headquarters. Peacekeepers have also protested the activities of non-state actors near our positions to the Lebanese armed forces. Despite the challenges, peacekeepers continue to impartially report what is happening on the ground in South Lebanon to the Security Council.
A small, buzzing speck in the sky, barely visible, slips past concrete walls and billion-dollar radars, and within seconds, an Israeli air defense position is hit. That is the new battlefield reality unfolding along the tense Lebanese-Israeli frontier, where Hezbollah's rapidly evolving drone warfare is exposing uncomfortable gaps in Israel's once formidable aerial shield. Hezbollah's latest footage shows an FPV drone slipping undetected across the Lebanese-Israeli frontier and hunting an unsuspecting IDF position, flying low before zeroing in on troops near the border. The clip captures soldiers seemingly unaware of the incoming threat, underscoring how these small, agile drones are bypassing layers of surveillance built for larger aerial threats. Another footage released by Hezbollah this week shows an explosive first-person view drone flying low and fast before slamming into what it claims was an Iron Dome battery in northern Israel, in an incident the Israeli military later confirmed left 2 soldiers injured, as reported by CNN. The video captures Israeli troops standing near the battery in the western Galilee region, apparently unaware of the incoming threat. Hezbollah says the strike occurred close to the Lebanese border, underscoring how easily such drones can traverse the heavily fortified frontier. FPV drones, small, highly maneuverable aircraft guided by operators through live video feeds, have already reshaped combat dynamics in the Russia-Ukraine war. Now, Israeli defense planners are confronting how the same technology is being adapted in southern Lebanon. The Jerusalem Post, after visiting the area, reported that senior Israel Defense Forces officers have launched several pilot programs aimed at detecting and neutralizing FPV drones. Yet officers admit they are playing catch-up. While the IDF has improved its ability to intercept conventional UAVs since 2024, the low-flying, manually steered FPVs present a different challenge altogether. Former Israeli Air Defense Chief Brigadier General Reserve Ron Kochav warned in March that Israel was not doing enough to protect its most sensitive assets, Iron Dome, David Sling, and Arrow batteries.
If these layers are compromised, he cautioned, the broader defensive network could unravel. Israeli media reports, citing officers from the 36th Division, say Hezbollah has decentralized its drone operations into small field cells. These units reportedly combine reconnaissance drones with fiber-optic guided attack drones to target vehicles, static positions, and exposed personnel. Despite a ceasefire framework formally in place since April 17th, hostilities continue. The Times of Israel reported that the IDF struck over 40 Hezbollah sites in a weekend operation, while saying more than 800 strikes have been conducted since the truce began. Lebanese health authorities said Israeli attacks in Kalaway and Tebnin killed 2 paramedics linked to the Islamic Health Committee and wounded several others. At the same time, diplomatic channels remain active. The Times of Israel noted that Israel and Lebanon are preparing for a third round of talks in Washington, with Lebanese diplomat Simon Karam leading Beirut's delegation, and for the first time, military officers joining the discussions. Even as negotiations loom, the skies over the border tell a different story, one where improvised drones are challenging one of the world's most advanced defense systems.